fourth stepped forward and arched its little back, its tail as bushy as a tiny tail could be. The kitten opened its mouth and hissed at Mac, who had to outweigh her by 8 pounds. Ignoring the challenge the kitten was trying to give him, Mac breathed in deeply, using his tongue to flick air into his mouth, gathering information. The littlest kitten was alive, but extremely weak. The others were healthy, but they hadn't eaten recently. The mother cat had been gone for several days. If she'd been able to come back, she would have. The kittens wouldn't survive on their own, even the sassy one hissing at Mac. Their tummies had to be a lot emptier than Mac's, and no one was going to be around to teach them the basics, hunting, stealth, or making the big eyes humans couldn't resist. He was going to have to take care of them. There was no choice. First, he needed to get the babies into a safer place. He could smell other cats who might be insecure enough to find a bunch of kits a threat to their territory. There were dogs, too. Dog would probably drown the little ones with slobbery licks, but Dog was a wimp. He'd seen Dog run away from a chihuahua. A chihuahua. The bonehead could have swallowed it whole, except he was a wimp. A car drove by, reminding Mac of another threat. He had to move fast. He picked Sassy up by the scruff of the neck, ignoring her puny growl. Where to take them? Moving as fast as he dared, he started toward home. He didn't want to take the kittens there, though. Jamie wasn't even capable of feeding him and the bonehead right now, or cleaning his litter box. David had to do it. Mac really had to figure out what was wrong with her. She'd been smelling strange for months. Not sick, but not like herself. He'd deal with that later. Right now, he needed a safe place. Somewhere with no animals or humans. Not all humans were like Jamie and David and Mac's friends. They had to be observed and thoroughly smelled before they could be trusted. Sassy wriggled, trying to free herself. Mac ignored her, brain whirring as he moved through his neighborhood. Where? He caught a whiff of rotting cloth, cardboard boxes, wood, and mouse droppings. The kittens weren't much bigger than mice, but once the squeakers smelled Mac in the area, they'd get themselves gone. He veered toward the small building that was the source of the smells. It was about the size of the room where Jamie and David slept, but the roof was much higher. Mac had come across it on one of his nighttime jaunts. He took the wiggly kitten through the narrow tunnel he'd discovered when he'd first investigated the place. He deposited her on an old piece of carpet. Then he returned to the others. None of the others wriggled as much as Sassy had. The last one hadn't moved at all. But he was still alive. They all were. And Mac was there to make sure they stayed that way. That meant food. And home was the easiest place to get enough. He knew where the pouches of tuna were. That would do to start. He wasn't supposed to take food from the cupboards. Jamie would call him a bad cat if she woke up long enough to notice, but that never bothered him. Most of the time, being a bad cat was fun. Right now, it was necessary, although it wouldn't be for long. He'd teach the littles what they needed to know, then he'd match each of them up with a human. He knew lots of people, and he was excellent at matching. Those kittens were lucky it was MacGyver who'd heard their mews for help. Serena slid the key into the lock, then paused. She was about to enter the place she would be living for the next year. She'd never stepped inside. She'd never even been to California. Not that Atlanta was a small town, but this was Hollywood. The Hollywood sign was right over there to prove it. She turned her head and took a long look. "Breathe it in," she whispered. It was this thing she'd done since she was about 12, something her mother had taught her. Every day she tried to find at least one amazing thing. Then she'd say, or just think, "Breathe it in." It locked whatever she'd experienced in her mind, upped her appreciation of it. It had turned out to be really useful as an actress. Now